Good afternoon, Harrisburg residents and friends. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to be trying a new program here on Facebook Live and Channel 20 every Friday at noon. We're calling it Community Conversations, and we're going to both have it be a briefing about activities in the city related to the health crisis, but also a Q&A session where we can answer residents' questions live, and if we don't know the answers at this time, we will work to respond to those answers after the airing time. So join us on Facebook Live every Friday at noon, and if you don't have internet access, consider watching on Channel 20. This is not the only means of communication, but these are hopefully powerful tools that will help get us into people's homes. I wanted to begin by saying, although we are facing an international health crisis, Harrisburg is a resilient city, and we have survived crises before. We made it through the TMI disaster. We made it through Agnes. And we train and prepare for disasters on a regular basis at the city. We're fortunate to have a professional fire department, an EMS team, a caring police department, and we have a world-class hospital in Harrisburg. So we have resources in our community that we can build upon and call upon in times of need. And we're going to get through this crisis. We're going to get through it by sticking together and working together. Today I'm joined by our Police Commissioner, Thomas Carter, and by our Fire Chief, Brian Enterline. And after I give some general information, they will also make a few statements and be available for answering questions. It's my hope as we move forward into future weeks of this programming, we can have other guests, healthcare professionals, partners at other levels of government on to help get you the information that you need at home. I want to begin by talking a little bit about the governor's order yesterday, which I know is a big deal and many people are still processing. I want to start by commending Governor Wolf for being on the forefront of governors throughout this country who recognize that if we take clear, decisive, and smart steps that are based on science and healthcare professionals' advice in the short term, we're going to save lives and we are going to make this crisis lesser in the long term. And although these are extraordinary times, I believe that what we're trying to do in Pennsylvania, and certainly what the lead we're following here in the city of Harrisburg, is designed to protect you and protect all of our residents, especially those that are most vulnerable, our elderly and others that are in need. The call for social distancing is a very practical one. It means we want to encourage people to stay home wherever possible. That's the best means of staying safe, not mixing with others. If you do have to mix with others, stay a safe distance away. Constantly practice good hygiene, washing your hands, and taking care of yourselves and cleaning on a regular basis. These are smart, practical things that are designed to delay the spread of the virus. So in that context, Governor Wolf's order yesterday was basically for all non-life-sustaining businesses in the Commonwealth to shut down. If you are confused whether or not your business has to shut down, you are welcome to reach out to us here at the city, and we can definitively get you that answer. But some of the businesses that have to shut down, for instance, pretty much all construction in the city of Harrisburg, all projects, building projects, construction projects, are now at a standstill. All professional services, whether it's lawyers or accountants or architects, all asked to close their public offices. Almost all retail, other than general service stores, have been asked to close. Whether it's bookstores or department stores or clothing stores, all have had to shut down. Restaurants are doing takeout only, and this is a major change that's impacting a lot of people. Many people have lost their jobs, and many people are wondering how they're going to make it in the weeks and months to come. And I think we have to be clear, we're looking at months, not just a few days and not just a few weeks. And again, we're all in this together, and there are resources that we can bring to bear. On the business side, I wanted to direct businesses especially to the Harrisburg Regional Chamber website. That's harrisburgregionalchamber.org/coronavirus. There you can find a survey where if you're a business that's been forced to close, you can enter your information and you can be made aware of the latest grants and the latest loans. And right now already the Small Business Administration has released millions of dollars in potential low interest loans. There are grants out there, and there's going to be a lot more to come as part of stimulus packets, stimulus initiatives on both the federal and the state and the local level. But that's a good clearinghouse of information. In addition to doing that, I want to assure everyone that we at the city are working with our partners, whether it's Impact Harrisburg or the Chamber, to try and look at the resources that we have and to get them to the most needy in the quickest way possible. We've got meetings set up behind the scenes. We're working constantly on a daily basis to do that. The city's at its strongest position financially that it's been in really years, maybe decades. We have some resources, and we're trying to determine the best ways to deploy those resources in ways that have the greatest and maximum impact. I do want to talk a little bit about city operations. Like other businesses that have been asked to close to the public, City Hall has closed to the public, Public Works has closed to the public, but that doesn't mean that our essential city services have slowed or stopped in any way. We sent about 100 city employees home to be on standby, to be retrained or reprogrammed as needed, but also to telecommute if possible. And many people I know are at home trying to telecommute and do some business even in these extraordinary times. But our staff is still there. The fire department is fully there and ready to respond to calls. So is the police department. There may be some delay in non-emergency related calls as we try and focus on making sure our resources are as effectively deployed as possible, but everybody is on board. And as of this moment, we are all healthy and do not have any current cases of the coronavirus here in Dauphin County or the city of Harrisburg. Public Works is still collecting trash and still providing basic and essential services. Our traffic control team is working and repairing intersections and making sure that business of the city continues. While we aren't doing elective home inspections or lead inspections or anything like that, we are available for emergencies, whether it's a building collapses or emergency situations that come up. And we are actively encouraging everyone to utilize our 311 system. We have a strong, resilient 311 system at the city. If you call in at 311, or you can try the direct number, which is 717-255-6571. We can establish a support ticket and get that support ticket to the people that need it. We can track it, and it helps us by sort of channeling all questions and all concerns through 311. We can monitor what is on the mind and what are the needs of our residents. So please continue to use that. It is very active. I want to also say that I'm very pleased that our community policing team has been working closely with the Harrisburg School District, and we have implemented a new partnership whereby today, for instance, and next week on Tuesday and Fridays from 4 to 6, so that would include this afternoon from 4 to 6, and next Tuesday and next Friday from 4 to 6, at 6 different locations, our community policing team, along with the Central PA Food Bank and other volunteers, are going to be distributing food to anyone in need. This is separate from the school lunch program. This is food that is available to anyone who needs it, and it will be at 6 locations, 6 schools: Downey, Foose, Ben Franklin, John Harris, Roland, and Camp Curtin. So from 4 to 6 today. I was out yesterday as they were unloading the boxes at Camp Curtin. You can show up at one of those locations, and there will be food. Perhaps you know an elderly neighbor who could use food, but can't make it out. Maybe you can go out and get some food for them. Maybe you need food yourself. Please help yourself, and there'll be as much food there as we can muster, and even more food there next week, next Tuesday and Friday. I have made some minor executive orders. We'll continue to make others. For instance, we suspended street cleaning in the city of Harrisburg, and that's in conjunction with Capital Region Water. The street sweepers will not be out, but we've also eliminated parking enforcement, other than in the case of emergencies. Obviously, we can't have people parking in front of fire hydrants or blocking driveways, but if you park in a meter, you don't have to feed the meter. If you park in a residential zone, you don't have to worry about whether you have a sticker. You're not going to get a ticket in either of those. If you park in a street cleaning time, don't worry, you won't get a ticket. We know people are at home. We know not everyone has a designated parking space, so feel free to park and leave your car without fear of a ticket, and that will extend for the duration of this emergency. Right now it's going through March 29th, which was the governor's initial 14 days, but we will extend it as needed. I also wanted to announce today that I'm going to issue an executive order suspending late fees and penalties and interest for city utility billing for trash. We encourage people to, as they can, still pay their bills. Treasury is still operating, and we have a drop box both at the Public Works Building and behind City Hall, where people can make payments or submit applications or permit, whatever information for the city, and it will still get processed. And Treasury is in on a daily basis processing those. But if you have trouble making your bill and during this time, we certainly aren't going to penalize you or charge any interest. This also extends to the residents of Steelton. We've reached out to the borough manager and city council there to let them know that. And we've just done a distribution of toters and new trash facilities for Steelton. And we also will not be charging penalties or late fees during this time. I'm sure there are a lot of questions, and people have a lot of anxieties and a lot of concerns, and we want to try and work through them. But I want you to know that your city team is here working for you every day, and that we will do whatever we can to assist people, especially those that are the most vulnerable and need our assistance. I want to introduce and allow a few words from the two guests that are here with me today. We can start with, we'll start with the fire chief, Brian Ehrenlein.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon to all the residents of our great city. Your fire service, as well as police EMS, have been actively involved on a near hourly basis, working with our partners both at Dauphin County, at the state government, and at the federal level to ensure that we have continuity of operations here in the city, so that we're able to provide to our citizens the responses and services that they need. We've put some, obviously we've had to step back some things that we do, and we're just taking precautions to protect our responders, knowing that if our responders become infected, they come out of play. And we're not a large department where we can really take a lot of our folks getting sick at one time, especially with a 14-day downtime, which is what the recommendations from the CDC are on COVID-19. We do have contingency plans in place, and we've been working those really since probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago on if this were to strike our emergency workers. How do we go about business, and what is our business going to look like, i.e. changing work schedules, changing dispatch protocols on the number of fire apparatus that responds. And we've looked even bigger picture with our colleagues across the Commonwealth on how we can maybe potentially share our resources of personnel in the event one of our municipalities becomes inundated with COVID-19 issues. We currently have 4 of our members working with Pennsylvania Task Force 1 in the city of Philadelphia, working with a mass care facility down there by the orders of the federal government. So we, having no cases here in Dauphin County, felt very confident that we could allow those folks to go, with the contingency that if we need them back, we'll be able to recall them back to Harrisburg. As the emergency management coordinator, really the protection and lives of our citizens falls to us to ensure that they're safe and that we have protocols in place. And we've been working with a lot of behind the scenes work with the homeless shelters, with our elderly high-rise buildings, the Harrisburg Housing Authority, Homeland Center, to ensure that they have continuity of operations for them, to ensure that they're heeding the CDC's guidelines and limiting patient contact and making sure that their residents are being screened, and that we don't have an outbreak within one of our high rises or within one of our skilled nursing facilities. And that has went very well. There's been great cooperation through all those, through Harrisburg Housing and all of our other partners with high-rise buildings. We've been working with the UPMC Pinnacle to ensure that we have supplies necessary, and working with Community Life Team on some dispatch protocols to protect our folks. Our responsibilities are not only fire but emergency response, and making sure that our folks are protected, and we have protocols in place to replenish supplies and things. We don't have a shortage of supplies in the city of Harrisburg currently, but we know nationally our emergency workers, both in hospitals and on the front lines, on the streets protecting our residents in our cities and towns, there is a supply shortage, and we're working very closely with our healthcare partners and our suppliers to ensure that supply is there for us in the event that we need to go outside and bring more supplies in. We're working with vendors and really receiving supplies on a daily basis, just stocking up on things, to look to the future of where we may be. In disasters, as emergency managers, we look at what's going on currently, what has happened, what's going on currently. We're projecting what the future looks like. And as crazy as it sounds in these unknowing times right now, we're looking to see what recovery actually looks like for the city of Harrisburg, for the region, and for our nation. And so as we work through those things, we're gearing up even for that recovery process whenever that may come. So that's kind of an update on where we are with the Fire Bureau and Emergency Management working for the citizens of both the city of Harrisburg and our entire capital region.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor Brian. It's a pleasure being here today. I know that for the citizens of Harrisburg that this is a trying time. For the citizens nationwide, this is a trying time. This is a virus, something like we have never had before. We've been through snowstorms, as the mayor said. We've been through flooding. And those are all things that are visible to the eye. You know that there's a starting point and there's a stopping point. Personally, I do not know how long this is going to last, but I can say this, that the mayor, the fire chief, and myself, we're doing everything that we can do to make sure that the citizens of Harrisburg and surrounding areas are taken care of. We have partnered with the food bank, with the school district, on reaching out to some churches to see what we can do for the homeless. We have provided hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of breakfasts and lunches, and now we're giving out the hot meals, and especially to our senior citizens. I can tell you this: if you do what the medical personnel tell you to do, if you follow Governor Wolf's the instructions that he's given about staying in place, shelter in place, do family things, come together as a family, come together as a neighborhood. This is no longer about the uptown or the hill. This is about the whole city of Harrisburg. This is a serious crisis right here, so we have to take things seriously. Your police department, they're working around the clock to make sure that you are safe, to make sure that you have what you need. I know that Dauphin County Dispatch is being inundated with calls, and they're doing the best that they can do. We have cut back some of our services. We will respond to the most serious calls and get to other calls later on. Believe me, we do not want to be infected by this virus either. It's a virus. It's something that you can't see. It's something that you need testing for. So it's a different kind of enemy. And I say enemy. That's not to scare anybody, but just to let you know that you have to take this serious by washing your hands, cleaning off plastic. I understand that it stays on plastic for 12 hours, Brian, or something like that. It adheres to all kind of surfaces. Practice hygiene, shower. I also understand that if you take a hot shower, steam, and things like that, it affects the virus. The virus doesn't like things like that. But once again, I want to thank all the citizens of Harrisburg, especially our volunteer workers. They've been doing an excellent job coming together, helping us to get meals out there. As the mayor mentioned, we're going to be giving out some more meals today. Please, let's just be smart about this here. Let's just do the right thing. And we together, all of us together, we the people of this great region shall get through this. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Commissioner. And I do want to say a couple things about some of the violence that we've been having in our community recently. As you know, we had another homicide fairly recently. And my message to residents is if you can stay home, please stay home. We're not in a curfew situation yet, but if you have teenage children, younger children in your household, encourage them to stay home. And to those that are actively out causing mischief, shooting, and other things, the message is we are in a crisis for our entire community. You need to put the guns down and stop being so selfish. If our police have to respond to a shooting, they're not going to be able to respond to others who are in need. And if you end up taking up the hospital beds at UPMC Pinnacle, they're not going to be able to treat other people. If you don't do that, you're going to put people like your own grandparents at risk. You're going to put the elderly at greater risk. This is a time for people to stay home and gather together as a family. I know in my family, if there's any positive out of this, there's more time for people to be together, to stay together, to engage in family activities, and that's what we want to see. We're going to try and take some live questions. Momin has been monitoring what's been coming in on Facebook Live. We can't see that right now, but he'll relay them to us.
Sure. Yes, thank you, Mayor. We're getting a lot of questions and comments, so thank you everyone for submitting those. First, we can, let's see here. There's a question about the elderly and those without internet access. How are we getting information out to those populations?
Right, and well, you can attest to the fact that we've been discussing that even before we came on air. Facebook Live is a powerful tool. Channel 20 is a powerful tool. You don't have to have internet access to be able to watch Channel 20, but we recognize that there are many, including elderly, who don't have either internet access or facility with Facebook Live or Channel 20. To those, we're going to have to do outreach through our community partners. We're going to have to use old-fashioned forms of communication. I was just in the process of approving an insert for an upcoming mailing, and we've even talked about an old-fashioned newsletter and other types of dissemination. So I think the U.S. mail is a real option, and we will continue to try and reach as many different platforms for communication as we possibly can.
All right. And another one here, this is from Reg. She asks, please say more about what's being done at the local shelters to help protect homeless folks.
All right. I do know that the city has been actively involved through CASH, our coalition, to make sure that our shelters have the resources that they need. I'm aware that people are still on the street, still congregating and not able to practice social distance. And I'm also aware that there are people in the city that haven't had access to the information that they need. So we need to both make sure that our shelters are reinforcing these the same health guidelines that are being reinforced elsewhere in our society, and we need to do outreach to those people. There's going to be more of a role for Harrisburg Police and Harrisburg Fire as we move through this crisis. As more and more people are at home and off the streets, the people that are left, both homeless and on the streets, are people that we're going to have to reach out to and try and provide resources for. And again, they can do more of that if we are asking less of them in other ways. Would either of you like to add to that?
Yes, I would, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I know that most homeless shelters, they're filled up to capacity level right now. They're not accepting any new people in, but however, they are still providing meals for those, that can't shelter inside with them. So I believe that the Bethesda mission is feeding starting at 4 p.m. today. They're not turning people away, but they're just not allowing other people to come inside because of the seriousness of this COVID-19.
Yeah, speaking on food programs, I know that you were at a recent press conference with the school district talking about a breakfast and lunch program.
Yes.
So we have a question here from Carrie. Please let people know about the breakfast lunch program at the schools. I believe that's on Tuesday and Friday. Is that true? Or?
It started this Tuesday at 6 different schools. We gave out a couple hundred meals. I'm waiting to be in contact with the school district to find out the new hours. I know that we also started a box meal program that includes pasta and apples and some canned goods. We're also reaching out to partners to make sure that we have hygiene stuff in the next go round starting next week. So please today at the Boys Club on Berry Hill Street. At the Camp Curtin Y from 4 to 6, I believe, they'll be giving away the box meals.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just build on that for a second. So the school lunch program is being organized and run by the school district through the Department of Education, and that is available only to the students in the school district. The larger distribution of food that we started talking about at the beginning of this program is there for anyone who needs it. And that distribution, which is taking place today, and it may include the Boys and Girls Club, but the list that I have is Downey, Foose, Ben Franklin, John Harris, Roland, and Camp Curtin. It's those 6 that I know for sure from 4 to 6 are giving away food from the Central PA Food Bank. Now others are also out there, but we've got our community policing team at those 6 locations from 4 to 6. And again, if you know of somebody who needs food, we're not checking ID or means testing anyone. It's available. And in fact, we would encourage you to come out and take it and spread it to those that you know that could use it.
If I can just clarify something, Mr. Mayor, today from 2 to 4 at the Boys Club and at the 6th Street Y, they'll be giving away the box meals. Thanks to Mr. Jamie Harvey up at the 6th Street Y. He saw the need for the seniors up there. Starting next week, we're going to try to get the center down on 4th Street through Mr. Les Ford. For that to be another hub, that we can give out meals to our senior citizens and to anybody that walks up, that needs those meals.
So we'll try and have all the information clearly on our website, but also we'll reply in the comments here for Facebook Live, and we'll also put it on Channel 20 and continue to distribute. It's rapidly unfolding. There's a lot of goodwill and a lot of people that are out there making a difference. We'll try and have all that information very clearly out there for people. So it sounds like from 2 to 4, as well as from 4 to 6 today, there will be free food distribution going on in Harrisburg.
We have a few questions about undocumented neighbors. What actions are being taken to help them by local groups and other groups. What is the city doing to make sure that our undocumented neighbors can safely access emergency service during the crisis?
Well, I can guarantee those people, the undocumented people, that if they need assistance from the city of Harrisburg, I have instructions from the mayor that we're not going to be calling ICE or anyone like that, So, please, if they know of anybody out there that needs help, assistance, they can contact the police, the fire department, and, we'll make sure that that if we can provide the services that they need, that they will get those services.
Yeah, we will be providing emergency services regardless of national origin or citizenship. It's not even a question. You won't be asked, you'll be helped. Same thing for the food distribution. It's eligible to anyone. So please come out and avail yourself of the resources that exist.
Priscilla asks, this question is directed to you, Mayor. How are you personally practicing things like social distancing and quarantining?
Yeah, good question. So when the commissioner and chief came in, we did not shake hands. We stayed a respectful distance away from one another. And this is certainly true at City Hall, where we sent home over 100 employees. The employees that are there are doing essential work, and to the extent that they can come in and out of City Hall, they are doing so. We have extra cleaning. We actually purchased some emergency cleaning supplies for City Hall. We're on constant cleaning of all the spaces in there to protect our employees. Even though the public can't come in, our employees are coming in to some degree. Constantly washing our hands and basically trying to implement that type of respectful social distancing. When it comes to meetings, I've changed as many meetings as I possibly can to online meetings, to phone conferences. I'm calling everyone regularly to sort of check in, and we're doing less face-to-face at the city. And I think that's a good practice for every workplace, and I'd recommend everyone adopt those similar guidelines.
Okay. Chief Enderlein, maybe we can take that same question to you and your firefighters as far as with the different buildings.
Yeah, so, we're pretty unique because no matter what the emergency is, our firefighters, our police, and EMS have to be there. We're that first line of defense for our citizens. So we initiated some cleaning protocols above and beyond what our firefighters typically do. A daylight in the fire station is usually some cleaning anyway on those daylight hours, but we've ramped that up where now they're disinfecting and using disinfecting cleaners on the door handles of the building, the light switches, mopping the floors. We have kitchens in the fire station, making sure that they're being disinfected not once a day, twice, 3, 4 times a day. As well as the door handles and things on our fire trucks. As we're going out interacting with the public, we need to make sure that that they're taken care of. There's a hand sanitizer and cleaners on every piece of fire apparatus in the city as well. And we also have a supply of N95 and N100 respirators that, if needed, out on a call, our folks can, if they have a suspected COVID patient, we can deploy those to protect our emergency responders.
All right.
We're also doing some new sort of operating procedures for police in terms of self-quarantining. And some of you may have seen it was on Facebook just recently, an incident where Harrisburg police came in contact with somebody who had sort of overwhelmed EMS response, may have been potentially infected with the virus. And we took that very, very seriously. And we worked with the hospital to make sure that that person was cleared of having the virus before we were going to bring the police back into service. So it's that type of new protocol which is actively occurring, and it's designed to keep everyone safe. It's a very easy thing to spread, especially when you're in the close confines of a fire station. But our police and fire take it very seriously and know that they're not going to put others of their colleagues at risk.
Another question for Commissioner. Can you expand upon what calls you're not responding to?
We're not going to, well, I can't say that we're not going to respond. It'll be a slower time that we get there, but for your criminal mischiefs and maybe some disorderly conducts, it depends on the seriousness of the disorderly conducts. Just cause that the priority isn't high with, but for any forcible felony, domestics, shots fired, shootings, or anything like that, we will be respond as normal. I would like to touch on something that the mayor touched on, that the curfew. The mayor has the power to invoke curfew in the city of Harrisburg. That is something that we do not want to do, and we should not have to do that, because then that will result in us minimizing our manpower, going to 12-hour shifts. That also put the fire department at a disadvantage to respond to calls. They just had a tremendous fire that they dealt with the other day. So, I want to say to the citizens of Harrisburg, you've been doing a great job. We have a couple hiccups, but for the most part, I want to comment to just say that I'm proud of the citizens of Harrisburg for being reasonable about this here and for understanding. So let's not make the mayor make a mandatory curfew or anything like that, because that would be ugly for everybody.
It is a powerful thing, and we want to see if we can encourage compliance via what we're asking of the community before we have to go down that road. I will just say, calls are always ranked in order of priority response for the police department whenever they come in, and we're not saying we are not going to ever respond to the lower rank calls, but we do have new priorities, and right now calls related to health concerns regarding the virus have to take priority over others. I will say, though, on a positive note, as I discussed with the chief, I think call volume is down a little bit as people are home. So if we can stay home and not call for emergency services unless definitely needed, that will allow us to get the help to the people who most need it the quickest.
Okay. Let's see here. We got a lot more that are coming in here. Some questions is about businesses. Let's see here. We're talking about curfew as well, so let me bring this up. Danny asks, it seems like it's only a matter of time before Dauphin County sees a positive case. What are you doing to enforce businesses stay closed and mitigate the spread in the city? And Daniel also asks a similar question, but if we can focus on this one first.
Okay. So first of all, I would say it is only a matter of time before Dauphin County has its first case. And we're anticipating that, and that won't come as a surprise, and people should not be surprised when that happens. We are trying proactively to shut down businesses now rather than to have to react reactively like they have in other parts of the country when things are already really spiraling out of control and too late. So the goal is, if you can minimize that social interaction by creating the social distancing, by closing the businesses, you can slow the spread of the virus. You can delay, you can flatten the curve, as they say, or you can at least postpone it until we get closer to the summer and the warmer months. The governor's declaration yesterday is a lot to absorb. It's a very serious thing. We haven't seen anything remotely like this since perhaps World War II, and we are, and it does call upon local law enforcement as well as the state police to enforce it. As I say, there's a very clear list of who can stay open and who can't stay open. If you have a question, you can contact the city and we can get you that answer. And if there are businesses that continue to stay open in violation of the governor's policy, we will do what's necessary to protect the public health. I don't think we have that situation right at the moment. I think you're seeing the overwhelming majority of businesses right now trying to do the right thing and to shut down. I do think before the governor's declaration yesterday, you had confusion and you had a lot of businesses staying open. I read, as you probably did on Penn Live, about GameStop and Barnes & Noble and places that were continuing to try and stay open, which now clearly have been told to close. And I think the order has brought clarity, and I think that businesses will close, and we will certainly do what it takes to keep people safe in Harrisburg.
And what does that include as far as businesses that refuse to close? What is the city or police going to do about that?
Well, we would have to close them. And if there are concerns from residents about businesses that are not practicing in accordance with the governor's declaration, they should let us know, and we will respond accordingly. The city regulates businesses. We issue business licenses. The city issues health licenses. I do want to say that businesses can stay open. Many businesses can stay open. There's still takeout service for restaurants that is encouraged. So just because you see a business open doesn't mean that it isn't authorized. You're going to see general stores like your Targets, your Walmarts, they're staying open. Grocery stores are staying open. Gas stations are staying open. Dollar General's staying open. Those types of stores which are necessary for people, everyday life. Pharmacies are staying open. So not all business is shutting down. But we talked about professional services, we talked about retail, we talked about construction. I mean, it is a major impact, and people are going to be out of work and transitioning to unemployment, and there's going to be a need for really federal and state changes to make sure that we all get through this together. But if we stick together, we care for one another, and we try and address the needs as we move forward together, we can get through this.
Commissioner, with all this that is going on, when officers are out in the community, how are officers practicing social distancing amongst themselves and being out in the community?
Well, that's a good question, and it's sort of hard to do because we're still responding to like calls, but our roll calls have changed. We're practicing social distancing there. We have kits for our cars. We're cleaning our computers off. We have sanitizer, hand wipes. We have masks. We have the things that we need to have. I think it was in somewhere down there, Montgomery County or somewhere, I believe that a couple officers, they were in a situation where they were with a person that tested positive, so they quarantine those officers. So if that happens in like Harrisburg, that's going to be a big hit. I don't care how big the agency is, if anybody gets infected with the COVID-19, and then you have to quarantine everybody in like roll call, everybody that the officer is working with. Same thing for the fire department. So, we're very careful, not to say that it won't happen, and 9 times out of 10, nobody has tested positive here in Dauphin County. That's because they're not really testing in Dauphin County right now. But please, just be smart and just do the right thing. And if you are testing positive, it doesn't mean that you're going to die or anything like that. It's sort of like catching the flu or something, if you're healthy. So please, everybody, this is a good time to stay healthy, to stay fit, to work out, to go for walks, to go for runs or what have you, and just do the things that you need to keep your system healthy.
Okay. I mentioned the example of the case where the officers came in contact with a patient who may have had the virus, and that we took precautions until we could determine that person didn't have the virus. Commissioner also talked about sensible things like wiping down and cleaning the cars between shifts, and trying to instill a whole new pattern of disinfecting efforts on the police department.
Okay. I think we have time for just maybe one or two more. Daniel asks, what concerns do you have for the financial future of the city besides help from the Chamber for Business?
Okay. So I do believe that the city and all cities in Pennsylvania for sure, and many around the country, are going to see a reduction in revenue. And that ultimately that is going to lead to strains in terms of how we're able to pay for our essential services. When people don't have jobs, they're not going to be paying earned income tax. Businesses aren't going to be paying their mercantile privileges taxes. And we're expecting a revenue hit. Luckily, in Harrisburg, we built up a fairly sizable fund balance. And we can use that fund balance to maintain essential services for some time, for months. And at that point, we're anticipating, I would hope, a larger state and federal stimulus package that would help municipalities. And that's going to be necessary everywhere. And so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I do want people to know that we do have enough cash reserves that we can continue to maintain city operations for now. And that is a position that we wouldn't have been in, say, 6 years ago when we took office. And I'll also say that everyone is currently being paid in the city of Harrisburg, vendors, employees. There's no immediate concern in that. So we have enough reserves to last for months in the city of Harrisburg, but we are anticipating, as most municipalities are anticipating, major hits. Now, if I could speak to individuals, if you're at home and you don't have a job, and you're maybe applying for unemployment, and you should, but that unemployment is only providing you 50-60% of what you were making when you had a job. It can be hard, but there will be no evictions. The court system is closed. The utilities, including CRW, have all said that they will not shut off essential electric, gas, water. And so you can stay in place if you have a place. And I understand we've talked about the homeless crisis in Harrisburg, which is real, and we're working on that. But if you have a place, you don't have to fear that you're going to lose your place. You may have lost your job, but again, we're all in this together, and we can weather the storm. And if we look out for our neighbors, if we care for one another, and we recognize that the resources that we do have, we want to make sure that we get to the people who need them the most, and we maintain basic essential services, we will get through this. It may take weeks, even months. It's not days, but we will weather the storm.
I believe we have time for one more question. This is for the Commissioner. Commissioner, do you have a plan to combat increased crime during uncertain times like this? And if there's a plan to address hypervigilance?
We have a plan. I'm not going to get into the details of our plan, but we do have a plan. My command staff, I have a very good command staff, and Deputy Chief Derek Moody, Captain Sorensen, and Captain Whelan. We have already collaborated with other agencies. We'll be collaborating with the fire department, and we have a plan to increase manpower on the street and to be more visible. But that's a plan we hope we don't have to enact right now. That's a plan that will only come to place if the mayor invokes the curfew or if crime picks up. And in closing, I just want to say that for the seniors, who are concerned and who have no way of getting to the places to pick up meals, please take my cell phone number down. It's area code 717-585-3903. 717-585-3903. That's my government phone, so please reach out to me, and I will make sure that you get what you need. Thank you.
And we can also use 311 as well, and that would open up a ticket, and we will respond to all types of social service questions. Even if we don't provide those services, we will connect people to in ways that they need to be connected. So continue to use 311. We will also be continuing to reply to whatever the Facebook live stream questions are that are today, so you can continue to check back on that. And again, we will be doing this on a weekly basis now, Fridays at noon, as we move forward. I just want to close by saying that, again, we have a dedicated team of professionals that are working every day to try and get us through this crisis. I couldn't be more proud of our emergency management leaders. These two gentlemen, like myself, are from this community, live in this community, raising our families, and affected in similar ways to the ways in which everyone is affected. We care very deeply, and we're going to work tirelessly to help us all get through this. So again, this is a new format, a new start. I hope you found it somewhat helpful. We'll be back again next Friday. And continue to please reach out to the city and help us with any, or get to us with any questions that you may have, so that we can get back to you. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy. Thank you for watching.